Seamus, you said something that's actually very, very interesting. The narrative switches quick, and it does. It in today's NBA, guys, the narrative can switch on a player. I mean, look at Anthony Edwards. I mean, just 7 months ago, this guy was the next it, and here comes a rough stretch again. Rightfully so. The guy's 23. He's figuring out the league. He's getting better. He's growing. He's going to have breaking news. There's going to be a couple more rough stretches before Anthony Edwards reaches the mountaintop, right? But that's kind of the unique part about the NBA is it takes time with these guys, with these younger players to get into their full true potential. For Tatum, he was that guy before. He was that 23-year-old that was new and shiny and going against LeBron in the playoffs and Durant and beating the defending champions. And then we saw him fall and fail. And then it gets the narrative switches just in a couple weeks. And a very interesting point, Seamus, is the narratives. But I guess for Tatum, for me, my point in terms of where he's at in the realm, better than Kevin Durant, Randy, that's for sure. 100% agreed. And again, probably only 2 teams in the NBA where you're checking ball for 7 games and you're thinking to yourself, okay, we don't have the best guy.
Yeah, you know what's interesting?
Well, I'm gonna add on to what Rob just said real quick. My stream's cutting out too here, so it's a little delayed. But ultimately, Jayson Tatum, you mentioned, he was that younger player at one point in time. I mean, the narrative when you talk about it switching so quick, I look at 2022. He's putting up 54 points on the Brooklyn Nets. Had a phenomenal first-round series against the Brooklyn Nets. Put up 46 points in Game 6 in Milwaukee to save the Celtics season, to send it to a Game 7 where the Celtics eventually beat the Bucks. And then, of course, was that bucket getter in Game 7 against the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals on the road. I still go back and look at that game and go, man, did we have a lot of confidence in that Celtics team? Because going on the road and winning a Game 7 to go to the NBA Finals, I mean, that is something not every team can do. And Jayson Tatum was a bucket getter in that game, particularly down the stretch. Celtics were able to pull out that game, make it to the NBA Finals. And then what happens? Jayson Tatum has a terrible NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors. Then all of a sudden, all of what he just accomplished was wiped away. That Nets series, the Milwaukee series, the Miami series, what he did in the regular season, at the end of that regular season, all of those narratives, just because of one final series where he was facing a team which knew how to guard himself. And you talk about Anthony Edwards being 23. I believe Jayson Tatum was 23 at that point in time in 2022.
24.
I don't know.
Off by
24. What is he right 24. Now? 26?
26 turning 27.
Okay, so he was what? Yeah, he was 24 at that time.
In that realm.
24. But he was only a couple months into the age of 24 at that point. Right. And that's kind of the same thing of what you're talking about with Edwards, where it's like, those younger players are going to have those stretches, but just how quick the narrative changes. We've already seen it with Jayson Tatum multiple times in his NBA career, and that's what makes me think, we're just going to see this yet again. It happens to every single all-time great. I mean, Jordan three-peated, wasn't in the league for 2 years, or really a year and a half. Three-peated again. Kobe Bryant three-peated a couple of years. Is he leaving the Lakers? Oh, can he do this himself? And wins back-to-back 09 and 10. So this just happens in every single era.
Right.
Yeah. Just kind of go back to the whole Jayson Tatum narrative thing. For me, at least, that there's really no debating the skill set and the skill sets, actually, that Jayson Tatum has. One of the more unique skill sets in the entire NBA, not just in the East, but in the whole NBA. There's really no debating that. I think right now, what you said, or in the past even, Seamus, the narrative about Jayson Tatum and this whole stigma behind the whole Tatum hate really stems back to, I don't even think it stems back to basketball to me. To me, it's, he has this moment in the finals where he's saying, we did it. Everyone thinks he's cringe, right? And then we see him texting Kobe, this one's for you. And to me, that is really where I think this whole stigma of the Tatum hate comes from. Not even from on the court, just people think he's cringe, people think he's this or that. That is really, to me, where this whole tandem of Tatum and the Celtics hate really comes from. And that's just the fact. People just think he's cringe, and I don't know. He backs it all up with his skill, so I don't really understand why.
Well,
it matters what he does.
And you know what?
The internet.
The internet that exists.
They just make shit up. They just make it up. They're like, oh, he screamed during his interview. Oh, must be Kevin Garnett. He's copying off of everybody. It's like they'll just find the littlest thing to go, oh. It's like the internet makes the narratives out there. It's like these aren't true.
And you know what? I also think it's like right now we're in such a unique kind of spot in NBA history because there really isn't a face, right? Yeah. There's not like a guy, I mean, like LeBron still probably, right? But there's like not like this guy that you can point at and think to yourself, at least not yet, think to yourself, oh, it's his era, right? I mean, personally, I think we're in the beginning of the Jayson Tatum era, but like, you know, it's really unique where you have these non-American players who are kind of at the headlines of the league. I mean, look at the past 4 years of MVPs, 5 years of MVPs. They have all been from non-American born players. Embiid, Giannis, Jokic. I mean, that's very, very abnormal. It's a new look at the new guy in town, the next generational great. He is not an American born player. And I think the league right now is looking at them and they, we've never had to deal with this before. The international, how do you headline an international player in an American born league? So kind of back to how this plays a role in Tatum. I think there's a lot of pressure on this guy to kind of fit everyone's agenda and to fit everyone's narratives and to be the player and the person that everybody else wants him to be, right? In reality, it's just not who he is. Tatum shows up to work, he hoops, he goes home, he hangs out with his kid, and that's his day, right? So I think it's really unique because it's like, I think if you put put Tatum, same thing, back in like 2010, you're kind of seeing him as a much different perspective of this guy. But here he is in this era of the NBA that's so uncertain with what's next and, who's going to be their guy. And it's very unique. Also, you play for the Boston Celtics. You're not going to get that treatment. If JT's playing out there in LA in the sunshine, right, in California, in the crypto.com arena and, with the lake, like all that, it's much different. Or same thing goes for New York. Yeah. But I personally, I love it, but that's just me. I love it. And I don't know if Tatum does, but
no, the internet, I'm tired of the narratives that go on the internet because I think through time, it's very evident if one steps off the internet, steps back onto it or steps off of it, that the internet just creates perception out there. It just creates perception. It's, a whole mass load of people. We're going to shift this narrative one way or another. And a mass amount of people are going to latch onto it. And then from there on, it's almost like this cult following of, well, whatever is said goes. And in terms of, we're following this one idea. Well, it's just going to continue to persist no matter what happens. You can beat the narrative. That's what Brad Stevens always talked about when he was head coach, is beating all the narratives, because out there, a lot of people, they don't even really do their homework. They don't study. They go, what is everybody else doing? Or what is everybody else saying? Okay, I'm going to say the same thing. And it's just a rampant wildfire on the internet from that regard, where to me, when Jayson Tatum, when he's doing what he did in the NBA playoffs last year, any of the times in which he's off court, or, we get a true sense of Jayson Tatum, say specifically the "we did it" moment. That was a moment in which people will remember forever. There were a ton of kids watching that at the time, and that was their Kevin Garnett moment. It really was. Yeah. And instead, the internet jumped on it and went, oh, look, he's such a copycat. And they went, oh, look at this photo of him in the locker room. He's a copycat of Kobe. Oh, he's copying Kobe's flow in this way. Oh, he's doing this player's little aura thing over here. And it's like, this is the idea of Jayson Tatum that just runs like a wildfire through the rest of the internet because, one person said it, or there's this little group that says it, but then all of a sudden all these different people start latching on to the same idea, and no matter what goes down, it's, this is the narrative, this is the narrative, this is the narrative. I mean, even look at a player like Paul George. Now, of course, right now, Paul George is really not the same player in which he was. I'm not talking about today's Paul George, but during the pandemic, Paul George went from playoff P to pandemic P. And he did. And it didn't matter what type of game Paul George had. Now, he was putting up some of the worst games of his entire career at that point in time, but it didn't matter what type of game he had. It was still pandemic P, pandemic P. Oh, this event was going on. And oh, Paul George, he finally had a good game during this event, and nobody was watching anymore. And that's ultimately just, it's the idea behind certain players. Like even Luca right now. We're watching Luca. Oh, everybody thinks, oh, Luca's out of shape. Luca's out of shape. Luca's out. I mean, sure he's out of shape, but does he really look any different than he did last year, the year before? I mean, maybe a little bit from when he was a rookie, but it's ultimately just the idea
Yeah.
behind it and really the continuation of that idea from others who don't really do their research or don't really, speak for themselves, but they speak upon what others are saying. And that's really what Jason Tatum and really a lot of NBA players, I will stress, it's not just Jason Tatum, it's almost every single NBA player out there who has some level of popularity. They suffer from those narratives. They suffer from, oh, there's this general idea about themselves, and now everybody out there, no matter whether or not they do their homework, they're just going to latch onto that. And that's the whole narrative with Jason Tatum. But we all know, covering him on a near nightly basis, Jason Tatum, I mean, there's zero problems with the way Jason Tatum goes about his time in the NBA, whether it's on court or off court or whatever he does inside in the lens of the camera. I mean, Jason Tatum, everything he does, I think he's just one of the more perfect franchise players any team could actually have out there. And I know perfect is subjective, but ultimately, if you're if you were to check the boxes on what you'd want in a franchise player, Jason Tatum checks all of those boxes. And I don't really know. The only people in which I would see, oh, you hate Jason Tatum, it's Los Angeles Lakers fans, and it's because he's not in a Laker uniform. That's it. That's it. Maybe some Sixers fans out there too.
Because like you mentioned, Seamus, it really is. It's all just narratives and propaganda and just crap that doesn't
Propaganda is a great word to use for it. It's exactly what it is.
And when you look at a guy like Jayson Tatum, there aren't many guys in the NBA that can say they've done what Jayson Tatum's done in the amount of time Jayson Tatum's done it. So I'm sorry if he's a little cringe or if he's this or if he's that, but the guy can back it up. He can back up whatever he says. So if he's a little bit cringe, but he wins, so what? He's a winner. Who cares what he says? And that's the part that makes me so mad. It's like, if you're gonna pick on a guy, picking a guy that can talk the talk, that can talk the talk, but won't walk the walk. Tatum talks the talk and he walks the walk. And that's the part that makes me so mad. It's like the guy can back everything he says. So I'm sorry if he's a little bit cringe or, he says, oh, what would happen if we didn't win? I guess we'll never know. Oh, so what? He's a little bit cringe. Who cares? Like, that's really the reason why all these guys don't like him. Like, come on. Are we serious?
Yeah, they don't like him because he's a winner, by the way. That's exactly.
You stole it from me. You stole it. I was going to say that. If you
Sorry.
look, no, it's okay. I'll get over it. But if you look at Tatum's career, the dude has never, he's had one season where his bad was 500 in playing and losing in 5 to the potentially, honestly, if they were healthy, the potential NBA champions that year. But the Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie Irving trio that we saw, the really ever healthy and playing together, was that 5-game stint against Boston in that first round. Was like the healthiest and best we've seen that team. Here, Tatum, I mean, he scored 40 and 50 in that. So it's like, this dude has never lost. He never has really experienced what it's like to be bad. And, I think there's a correlation there personally, that's just me, but it's really easy. And again, like you said, Seamus, like, if I'm a Sixers fan or if I'm a Lakers fan, or if I'm, honestly, hate to say it, a Miami Heat fan or, a Knicks, I do not like this dude. He is a killer. He has killed you countless times in the playoffs. If you want to win a championship, you have to go through this guy. He is annoying. He's good, right? Annoying, right? But he's annoyingly good, and he's just a pain to not be a fan of because of how much he wins and how much he beats other teams in the playoffs. And like, that's what it is. Like, I'm sorry, but like, little Jayson Tatum therapy session. If you don't like Jayson Tatum, let me break it down for you. He beats you a lot. And that's why you don't like him. You don't believe the things you say. He just beats you a lot.
Yeah, but don't hate him because of his aura. Hate him because he just beats you. Like I said, everyone hates him because of his aura, right? Because he's not swaggy. He's not what. Like, hate him because he's good and because he's going to dominate the league for the next decade. Don't hate him for something that has nothing to do with that at all. Right.
Yeah, it's all noise at the end of the day. I mean, it's all noise. He's a champ. You're probably not. And that's that. It is what it is.